The mysterious signal. The sky was silent, the stars twinkling in their usual places. Earth was just another blue dot in the vastness of space, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. The year was 2147, and humanity had already begun exploring the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Space stations floated in orbit, and spaceships traveled between planets as easily as people once flew across oceans. But no one had ever seen anything like what was about to happen. It started as a whisper. Faint, strange signal, barely detectable by Earth's most advanced listening posts. At first, they thought it was just background noise, a glitch in the system. But as days passed, the signal grew stronger. The tone was unlike anything they had ever heard, a strange mix of frequencies that shouldn't have been possible to create with human technology. It was a pattern, but no one could make sense of it. Then, one day, the signal stopped being faint. It was clear, sharp, and unmistakable. A transmission. But it wasn't coming from Earth, or from anywhere humanity had ever explored. It came from deep space, beyond known territory, from an area that had never been mapped. The signal didn't repeat like a normal message. It pulsed with an eerie rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Dr. Olivia Sanders, a lead scientist at the Earth Communications Center, was the first to notice the anomaly. She sat at her station, staring at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the controls as she listened to the signal again. It was unlike any other transmission Earth had ever received. She could feel it in her bones. This was not a random noise. Someone or something was out there. Can anyone else hear this? She muttered to herself, leaning closer to the screen. Her voice trembled slightly as she pushed a button to amplify the sound. The pattern seemed to change, a new frequency. Cutting through. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just a signal. It was speaking to them, or at least, it seemed to be trying to communicate. She rushed to send the data to the highest levels of Earth's Space Command. Within hours, the world was on edge. Governments and military forces from every corner of the globe scrambled to analyze the signal. News outlets picked up the story, spreading the word. A mysterious signal from deep space. Experts tried to decode it, but no one could understand its true meaning. Some argued it was an alien attempt to contact humanity. Others suggested it could be a trap, a trick by an unknown enemy. The military, led by General Marcus Hayes, quickly formed a task force to investigate the source. A fleet of ships was assembled, ready to venture into the unknown. There was no way to know what they would find, but Earth wasn't ready to risk ignoring this message. If it was an alien species, they needed to be prepared. If it was a threat, humanity would have to defend itself. The first fleet was set to launch in 48 hours. They would travel deep into uncharted space, heading toward the point where the signal had originated. But time was running out. As the fleet made its preparations, the signal continued to pulse, its rhythm growing stronger, louder, more urgent. Back at the communications center, Olivia watched the signal, a growing sense of unease building in her chest. The frequency had changed again, this time in a way that felt familiar. The signal no longer felt like an alien language. It felt like a warning, or perhaps an invitation. But who was it for? Send the signal out to the fleet. Olivia ordered. I want them to have everything we've got when they reach the source. The fleet was ready, but so was the universe. The unknown awaited, and no one knew if the answer would be peace or destruction. As the ships began to depart, Earth held its breath. The fleet's journey into the unknown was just beginning. But as the fleet entered deep space, something unexpected happened. A dark shadow appeared in the sky above Earth, a massive object decloaking out of nowhere. It was massive, much larger than any ship humanity had ever seen, and it was directly above Earth, hovering motionless in space. The signal suddenly stopped. No more pulsing, no more strange frequencies. Only silence. Then, a voice deep and powerful echoed across the comms. "We are here to protect you," it said. Olivia's heart raced. She stared at the screen, speechless. The fleet was no longer the only thing in space. Something had arrived. Something that knew about Earth. And somehow, it knew exactly who to contact. The voice repeated, "We are here to protect you, humanity. Prepare yourselves for what is to come." And with that, the mystery began. The world would never be the same again. Asterisk, the first contact, the silence was deafening after the voice spoke. Dr. Olivia. Sanders stared at the screen in disbelief, her mind racing to process what had just happened. The fleet was still on its way, heading straight toward the source of the mysterious signal. Yet here they were, an unknown force had revealed itself. It was as though the universe had flipped a switch, and everything was suddenly different. What ... What was that? Olivia whispered to herself, still staring at the blank screen, where the strange message had come through. But she wasn't the only one asking that question. The entire planet was on edge. Governments scrambled to issue statements. Military commanders made rapid decisions, and civilians watched the news with bated breath. There was no way to prepare for this, no rule book for a situation like this. The world was uncertain of whether to celebrate or to fear. The next few hours passed in a blur of confusion, urgency, and unanswered questions. But then, something remarkable happened. The unknown ship, still cloaked in shadow, finally made its move. It began to descend toward Earth. The massive shape, which had remained still in space until now, started to break free from the void. As it moved closer, its outline began to sharpen, revealing sleek edges and an impossibly advanced design. It was like nothing humanity had ever seen. The ship was not built from the same metals they knew, nor was it constructed in the same way. It was alien, but it felt familiar. Back at Earth's military command center, General Marcus Hayes paced back and forth. His mind was consumed with one thought. Is this our salvation or our doom? His fingers hovered over a button, ready to order the fleet to engage the unknown ship, but his instincts told him not to. Something about the situation felt different. The ship wasn't attacking. It wasn't hostile. It was ... waiting. For hours, the ship hovered silently in the sky, as if it were observing. No communications, no threats, just an unblinking presence, watching Earth. It felt like the world had come to a standstill. Every military radar, every observation post was locked onto the ship. But the ship gave no sign of aggression. It simply hung there, calm as a night sky. Then the unthinkable happened. A transmission, direct from the ship, flickered onto the monitors at Earth's command. It wasn't a message this time. It was a visual, a holographic display of sorts. The image that materialized was both beautiful and terrifying. An ancient star map with lines crisscrossing the galaxy, pinpointing certain locations, many of them marked with red. "These are the coordinates of your survival," the voice spoke again, calm and resonant. "These are the points of your protection. Humanity's future lies at the center of this map. You will need to prepare." The message wasn't clear. What did the map mean? Why had the ship chosen Earth? What was it protecting them from? Questions flooded Olivia's mind. She leaned forward, staring at the map on her screen, each marked location seeming more ominous than the last. Prepare for what? She whispered aloud. But the transmission cut off, leaving them with more questions than answers. The strange ship then began to retreat, moving slowly backward into the void of space. For a moment, it seemed to disappear entirely, as though it had never been there. But the message had been sent. The warnings were made. The clock was ticking. "We need answers," General Haas declared, turning to his officers. "Get the fleet back. We need to know what we're up against." The fleet, now nearing the coordinates the ship had left behind, slowed its approach. There was a strange tension in the air. No one knew what they would find when they reached the designated location. It could be another ambush. It could be something even more dangerous. Or perhaps they would find an ally. Either way, they couldn't ignore the threat. The map was real, and whatever lay ahead would change everything. As the fleet advanced into the unknown, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that the ship had left them with more than just a warning. It had left them with a choice to fight for survival, or to rely on whatever mysterious force had chosen to protect them. The world's eyes turned toward the fleet, their hearts filled with dread and hope. The true test was yet to come. Would the unknown ship truly be Earth's greatest ally? Or was it just the beginning of something far darker? As Earth prepared to face its future, Olivia stood by the console, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on her. She knew one thing for certain. Whatever was coming next, they would have to face it together. Asterisk. The ship's purpose the weeks that followed were filled with uncertainty. But one thing was clear: Earth had been changed forever. The mysterious ship, which had once hovered ominously above Earth, had vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind a quiet tension. The message it delivered had been cryptic, the star map a mystery that no one could fully decode. Yet something deep within humanity stirred a sense of unity, of purpose. General Marcus Hayes had become the face of Earth's military response, but it was Olivia Sanders who was called to the forefront now. As head of the Earth Communications Center, she was tasked with analyzing the ship's message and its implications. The map was still on her screen, an enigma she couldn't shake off. The red marks on the map stood like silent sentinels, each representing a possible danger. But what were they? And why had the ship led them here? "I've analyzed the data, General," Olivia said, her voice tense as she addressed Hayes in his private office. "The map. It's not a map of places. It's a map of events." Hayes frowned, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean by events?" Coordinates," Olivia began, pacing in front of the large screen. "They correspond to cosmic anomalies, regions where the laws of physics seem to break down, or areas where dangerous energy signatures are constantly flaring up. It's not just a star map. These are places where battles have been fought, or where civilizations have collapsed." Hayes took a deep breath. "So what you're saying is that the ship has been monitoring these events for ages, and it's guiding us to, what? A new enemy?" Olivia nodded slowly. "Exactly. It's not just a protector. It's been watching, waiting, and now it's asking us to step into its shoes. The ship's purpose isn't just to guard us. It's asking humanity to take a stand." The revelation hit both of them hard. The weight of their responsibility felt enormous. The aliens, whoever they were, had been planning something for a long time. And now, Earth had been thrust into the heart of it. There was no going back. "We don't have time to waste," Hayes said finally. "We need to find the source of these anomalies. We can't afford to sit back and wait. The ship's already left us a map. Now it's time to act on it." As they spoke, a low hum reverberated through the room. Suddenly, the lights flickered and a new transmission appeared on the screen. It was the ship's voice again, but this time there was a different tone, a sense of urgency. "Humanity, you must prepare," the voice boomed. "The time has come. The true enemy is closing in. You must not allow them to reach the first of the marked coordinates. The battle begins." There, the transmission cut off abruptly. The words hung in the air like an unspoken command. Hayes turned to Olivia. "We need to move faster. The fleet is already on its way to the first coordinate. I'll contact the other governments and coordinate our response." Olivia watched him as he walked toward the comms desk. She was still trying to process what they had just learned. What did the ship mean by the true enemy? Who were they up against? It wasn't long before they had their answer. The fleet arrived at the first marked location, a barren asteroid field located on the edge of the solar system. But as they got closer, the real terror set in. The ship's alien ships began to appear. Massive, dark vessels that seemed to shimmer out of thin air, almost as if they had cloaked themselves in the fabric of space. The enemy had arrived. And it was worse than they could have imagined. At first, the alien ships didn't attack. They simply watched, surrounding the human fleet. Then, a chilling broadcast came through, one that made every human soldier's skin crawl. "We are the Nemerans," the voice said, harsh and cold. "You have been marked for destruction. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death." Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. The Nemerans. She had heard of them in the most ancient of records, but they were supposed to be myth. A civilization long destroyed, a people whose cruelty had once brought entire galaxies to their knees. But now, the Nemerans were real, and they had come for Earth. General Hayes stood firm, his resolve hardening. "We are not surrendering. Not now, not ever." The fleet braced for the inevitable, the tension thick in the air. But then, just as the first Nemeran ship prepared to fire, the unknown ship appeared again. It was as if it had materialized from the void, emerging from the only shadows once more to protect humanity. But this time, there was something different about it. Its energy signature was stronger than before, the shield shimmering brighter, and its weapons, once dormant, now activated with terrifying force. The unknown ship was here to fight. But this time, it wasn't alone. Humanity had a chance. The Nemerans would not have it easy. They were no longer facing Earth alone. They were facing the might of a power from beyond the stars, one that had chosen Earth as its new ally. And in that moment, Olivia realized the truth. The ship hadn't just come to protect Earth. It had come to prepare humanity for the war of a lifetime. The battle for Earth had begun. The coming storm as the fleet gathered in formation. The ominous presence of the Nemeran ships loomed in the distance, their dark silhouettes like shadows stretching across the cosmos. The unknown ship, humanity's last hope, stood beside them, a towering figure of power and mystery. General Marcus Hayes watched the unfolding scene with grim determination. His fingers clenched around the armrest of his command chair, knowing that humanity was facing its greatest test yet. The Nemerans didn't speak again, their ships hovering silently, waiting for the battle to begin. But Olivia knew better. They had been here for one thing: destruction. The words of the Nemeran commander echoed in her mind. "Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death." But humanity wasn't going down without a fight. As the first blast of energy ripped through the dark expanse, she realized that the war they were about to wage wasn't just for survival. It was for the future of every living being on Earth. "Ready all weapons," General Hayes ordered, his voice steady though. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. The fate of Earth was hanging in the balance, and every decision would count. The human fleet, equipped with the new alien technology provided by the mysterious ship, moved into battle formation. Olivia watched from the bridge of the flagship, her eyes locked on the holographic display of the battlefield. The Nemeran fleet moved with terrifying precision, their ships like mechanical beasts of war, cold and ruthless. Their weapons crackled with destructive energy, each one designed to annihilate. But Earth had something the Nemerans didn't. Hope. The unknown ship surged forward, its massive form cutting through space like a predator hunting its prey. For a moment, it appeared as if the ship was alone in the vast emptiness. But then, a blinding flash erupted from its hull. The beam of energy, so powerful it lit up the surrounding stars, struck the closest Nemeran ship dead center. The alien. Vessel staggered, sparks flying from its shattered surface, before it was torn apart, disappearing in a brilliant explosion of light. Olivia's heart raced, a mixture of awe and fear. This is real. We can win. The fleet roared to life, humanity's ships firing in unison, a wave of energy cutting through the blackness. The Nemerans retaliated with brutal force, their weapons turning the battlefield into a deadly dance of fire and destruction. Explosions filled the sky as both sides clashed, and for a brief moment, it seemed as if the universe had forgotten the meaning of peace. But in the chaos, Olivia caught sight of something that made her blood run cold. A massive Nemeran ship, unlike any they had encountered before, slowly emerged from the shadows. It was far larger, its hull covered in what appeared to be layers of shifting armor, like a creature's skin, adapting to the assault. The ship's energy readings were off the charts. This was no ordinary warship. It was a weapon designed for one purpose only, to wipe out entire civilizations. "General, we need to pull back." Olivia called out, her voice sharp with urgency. "That ship, it's not just a warship. It's the Nemeran's true weapon." But Hayes didn't hesitate. He had seen the devastation in the first few minutes of battle, and there was no turning back now. No retreat. We fight for Earth. And just as the enemy's massive weapon charged, ready to strike the human fleet, the unknown ship surged forward again, this time with a new purpose. It was as if the ship had unlocked a hidden power, an ancient force long buried in its structure. The hull of the ship seemed to ripple, and the energy surging from its core crackled with pure, destructive potential. The Nemeran ship fired a blast of pure energy at Earth's fleet, and for a moment it seemed like the battle was lost. But then something incredible happened. The unknown ship's energy shields flared to life, and the blast hit the barrier, sending out a shockwave that rippled across the galaxy dot with a roar. The unknown ship charged, its engines blazing brighter than ever before. It collided with the Nemeran weapon with a force that could be felt in the very bones of the human fleet. The massive Nemeran ship shuddered, its hull cracked open, exposing the heart of its power source. In a final, desperate attempt, the Nemerans retaliated with everything they had, but it was too late. The unknown ship's energy pulse hit the Nemeran ship dead center, and it exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave rippled through the battlefield, sending the remaining Nemeran ships scattering like leaves in a storm. For a brief moment, there was silence. The enemy was gone. The battle was won. But the cost had been enormous. The unknown ship, its power reserves drained by the devastating battle, began to falter. It drifted in space, its once brilliant energy fading, like a dying star. General Hayes stood silent, watching the aftermath of the battle. The human fleet had won, but the unknown ship, their savior, was now barely holding together. They had a victory, but at what cost? Olivia walked up to him, her face pale, but her voice strong. "We won, General. Earth is safe, for now. Is it?" Hayes whispered, staring at the broken ship. "We've won the battle, but the war is far from over." Earth's last stand, the victory in space, had come at a high cost, but Earth had done what seemed impossible. They had driven back the Nemeran threat. The remnants of the alien fleet scattered into the depths of space, leaving behind only debris and silence. But while the Nemerans retreated, something far more insidious began to take root on Earth. Back at military command, the mood was somber. General Marcus Hayes stood before a large holographic map of the Earth, his finger tracing the lines that connected the unknown ship's coordinates. His face, usually a picture of unshakable resolve, now bore the weight of 1,000 worries. "We've won the battle, but this victory is fragile," he said, turning to Olivia, who stood beside him. her expression filled with concern. "We've pushed the Nemerans back, but we've only seen a fraction of their power. They will return, and we must be ready." Olivia nodded, her gaze fixed on the hologram. She had analyzed the map for days, trying to make sense of the ships. Star chart. The coordinates, marked in red, weren't just points of interest, they were critical to understanding the Nemeran strategy. These locations were interconnected, creating a web that stretched across the galaxy. The Nemerans had been preparing for something long before humanity had even discovered their existence. "I've been reviewing the ship's data again," Olivia said, breaking the silence. "This map isn't just a defensive strategy. It's a call to arms. The ship's purpose is to rally humanity, to unite all of us under a single cause, to fight the Nemerans wherever they strike next." The general's eyes narrowed. "And how exactly are we supposed to do that? We barely managed to hold them off today. I doubt the rest of the world is ready to face what's coming." "There's no choice, General," Olivia replied, her voice unwavering. "The ship, our ally, isn't just a weapon. It's a guide. It's giving us the tools we need to turn the tide. If we unite now, we can begin to prepare the next stage of the fight." Suddenly, the command center was interrupted by a burst of static. A new transmission filled the screen, and a familiar, booming voice filled the room. It was the voice of the unknown ship. "Humanity," it said, calm but urgent. "The battle you have fought today is but a shadow of what is to come. You have proven your strength, but your true test is only beginning. The Nemerans are not defeated. They will return in greater numbers, with a weapon that can erase your very existence." The room fell silent. Olivia could feel the weight of the words, her pulse quickening. The ship continued. "I am unable to fight this battle alone. The final phase of the war requires your cooperation, humanity. The enemy you face is older and more powerful than you can imagine, but together you can defeat them. I will show you the path, but it is up to you to walk it." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a tense silence in its wake. For a moment, no one moved. "We need to act fast." General Hayes finally spoke, his voice determined but heavy with responsibility. "The Nemerans have a weapon that can wipe us out, but we don't even know what it is. We need to learn more. Prepare for the worst." As the general made his way to the command center's communication hub, Olivia stood frozen in place, a sinking feeling in her stomach. The battle for Earth had been a victory, yes, but the message from the ship was, Clear Earth was far from safe. But what could they do now? The unknown ship had given them a path, but there was still so much they didn't understand. What was this final phase of the war? What could humanity possibly do to stop the Nemerans' mysterious new weapon? Her thoughts were interrupted by a loud beep from the communication console. Olivia turned to see the screen flashing red another transmission, but this one was different. The message wasn't from the unknown ship. It was from an entirely new source. It was another alien ship. This one wasn't massive like the Nemerans' fleet or the mysterious ship. It was smaller, sleeker, almost organic in its design. Transmission began with a voice that was not mechanical but soft, almost human. "Humanity," the voice said. "We are the Valish, and we have been watching your battle. The Nemerans are not your only enemy. The true force behind their aggression is much worse than you can imagine. We offer you our assistance, but you must act now, or it will be too late." The transmission went silent. The room was still, as though time itself had stopped. Olivia looked to General Hayes, who was already on the move. "We can't waste any more time," he said, a new sense of urgency in his voice. "Get the fleet ready. We're not alone in this fight. The Valish are offering us a chance, but we need to move fast. The Nemerans are coming, and whatever else is behind them, we don't want to face it unprepared." As the world rushed to prepare for the unknown, Olivia's mind raced. Another enemy? A new ally? The Valish had warned them of something worse, and she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just stepped into a much larger war than they had ever imagined. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. And this time, they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their place in the galaxy. But as the forces of Earth gathered, one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. The storm was coming, and they had no choice. But to face it head-on, asterisk the price of victory, the war had only just begun, and already the stakes had escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Earth had barely survived the first wave of the Nemeran attack, and now, with the mysterious Valish offering their help, humanity found itself on the edge of a precipice. Unsure of what lay ahead, General Marcus Hayes stood in the war room, his fingers gripping the edge of the table. The holographic maps of Earth and the surrounding galaxy flickered in front of him, with new, unsettling data popping up every few seconds. The Valish had shared their knowledge freely, but it came with a cost, a warning. The Nemerans are only the beginning, the Valish had said. They serve a greater ancient enemy, one that has been hidden in the shadows for millennia. The Nemerans are but pawns in a much larger game, and you must stop them before they awaken the true threat. Now the new coordinates the Valish had provided hovered ominously on the screen. They weren't just locations on a star map. They were gateways. Each one led to a place of power that, if harnessed by the wrong hands, could destroy entire worlds. The Valish had shared the details, but their tone was grave. These gateways were traps, carefully concealed, awaiting the right moment to spring. The Valish have offered us weapons, but their cost is high, General Hayes murmured, turning to Olivia. Their help doesn't come free. They want us to fight their war. They want us to stop the Nemerans before they bring their true masters to this galaxy. Olivia absorbed the weight of his words, staring at the hologram. And if we don't fight their war, she asked quietly, if we don't accept their help, then Earth falls and everything we fought for is lost. Hayes replied without hesitation. The Nemerans aren't just an enemy. They're the spearhead for something much darker. Whatever they're planning, we can't afford to let them succeed. The decision had been made. Earth would have to move forward, accept the Valish help, and prepare for a battle on a galactic scale. But there was a sense of dread hanging in the air. The mysterious ship that had once protected Earth now seemed to be fading, its power weakening as it drained its resources to protect them. Olivia could feel the shift. It wasn't just a war to defend Earth anymore. It was a war for the survival of the entire galaxy. We need to act fast, Olivia said, her voice trembling. Slightly. The Nemerans are regrouping, and if they reach the gateways first, the galaxy's fate will be sealed. We don't have the luxury of time. General Hayes nodded solemnly. Get the fleet ready. We launch within the hour. As preparations went underway, a new transmission came through from the Valish. The hologram flickered and stabilized, revealing a figure tall, regal, with features both alien and vaguely familiar. It was clear that this being was not one to be underestimated. Asterisk. Humanity, the Valish leader said, his voice smooth and commanding. Your choice is made, and now you must prepare. But know this, the power we offer comes with a burden. To wield it, you must understand its cost. The Nemerans will not simply fall before your weapons. They will fight with everything they have, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goal. If you wish to survive, you must be willing to sacrifice everything. The words hung in the air like a dark omen. Olivia's heart sank as the weight of the responsibility hit her once again. The fate of humanity rested not only on their ability to fight, but on their willingness to give up everything they had fought for, everything they had built. If we succeed, you will be granted more than survival, the Valish leader continued. But if you fail, The Nemerans will take control of the gateways, and with them, the power to unravel entire civilizations. You must understand, Earth is at the crossroads of something ancient, something that cannot be undone. Before Olivia could respond, the transmission ended. The room fell into a tense silence, the weight of the Valish leader's words lingering long after he had gone. "General, we're ready," Olivia said, her voice steady despite the fear building inside her. She looked up at the star map. Again, the coordinates flashing before her eyes. But what if the cost is too high? What if we're not ready for this? General Hayes gave her a look that spoke volumes, a mixture of resolve and resignation. The cost of inaction is greater than anything we can imagine. If we don't stand together now, the entire galaxy will fall into the hands of those who seek to destroy everything we've worked for. As the fleet began to assemble, Olivia stepped outside the command center for a moment of peace. The sight of Earth from orbit, beautiful, fragile, reminded her of everything that was at stake. Humanity had fought for its place in the stars. But now, it was clear, the price of victory was far steeper than anyone had anticipated. The unknown ship that had once been their greatest ally was now little more than a shadow, its energy reserves nearly depleted. The sacrifice it had made to protect them had been immense, and now it was up to humanity to carry that torch. The weapons the Valish provided could help them win, but at what cost? Could they truly defeat the Nemerans and their mysterious masters without losing everything they held dear? As the fleet prepared to launch, the weight of the galaxy seemed to rest on their shoulders. The coming storm wasn't just about weapons or battles, it was about choices. Choices that would determine not just Earth's survival, but the future of all life in the galaxy dot. And as Olivia looked up at the vast, endless void of space, she realized one undeniable truth: no victory would come without sacrifice. Asterisk, the final. Choice. The atmosphere in the command center was thick with anticipation. The fleet was ready, each ship prepared for the unknown, their crews steeled for what was to come. But the tension among the officers was palpable. There was no turning back now. The weight of their actions would shape the future of the galaxy, and Earth's role in it. General Hayes stood before the holographic map once again, his face drawn with the burden of leadership. He had led humanity through so many crises, but this one was different. This wasn't just about saving Earth. This was about preventing the collapse of everything humanity had built. And yet, in the back of his mind, a voice nagged at him. What? Will we lose? We're ready to move, Olivia said, her voice calm, but there was an unmistakable tension beneath her words. The fleet has gathered. The Valish are prepared to give us their support. But General, are we ready for the choice we have to make? Hayes didn't look at her immediately. His gaze was fixed on the map, where the coordinates provided by the Valish blinked ominously, leading to the gateway systems. But he could feel Olivia's eyes on him, her silent question echoing in his mind. Are we ready? He knew what they were about to face. The Nemerans were only the beginning of something far greater, an ancient evil that had lurked in the darkness of space for millennia, waiting for the right moment to rise again. The Valish were powerful, yes, but they had paid a price for their knowledge. Now it was humanity's turn to decide whether they would continue the fight or succumb to the overwhelming forces beyond their comprehension. We've come this far, Hayes said finally, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. But the question we face now is not just about whether we can win, it's about what we'll have to sacrifice to do it. Olivia looked at him, understanding the depth of what he was saying. The Valish had warned them winning this war would not be easy, and the true cost of victory would be greater than anything they had imagined. There was a weapon at play, a force that could destroy entire worlds. And now, it was humanity's responsibility to stop it, no matter what the cost. You said the Nemerans were only the beginning, Olivia said quietly. What if the true enemy is something we can't even comprehend. What if we're outmatched? If we don't try, we'll never know. Hayes replied, turning to face her fully. The Nemerans may have been the first to come after Earth, but they won't be the last. We have a chance to strike at the heart of whatever this darkness is, and we have to take it. As the fleet prepared to launch, the truth of their mission sank in. It wasn't just about saving Earth anymore. It was about protecting the galaxy from a threat that stretched far beyond anything they had ever faced. And the more Olivia thought about it, the more she realized the depth of what was at stake. The unknown ship had given them the tools to fight, but at a steep price. It had helped them fend off the first wave of attacks, but its energy was nearly depleted. The Valish had shared their knowledge, but with it came the promise of sacrifice. The power to stop the Nemerans was within their grasp, but it would come at a cost, one that would demand more than just weapons and strategies. It would demand their will, their unity, and perhaps their very lives. Olivia stepped toward the command console, her eyes fixed on the flashing coordinates. The fleet was moving out, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. She could feel the tension building. Every second counted. And yet, there was still something she couldn't shake, the feeling that they were being led into something much bigger than they realized. She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. What are we really fighting for? The question lingered in her mind, unanswered. General, Olivia said suddenly, her voice cutting through the silence. What if we don't win? What if we lose everything we've worked for? Hayes didn't answer immediately. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting the weight of the world. Then we go down fighting, he said softly. But we can't stop now. We have to try. If not for Earth, then for the future of everyone who believes in what we stand for. The fleet began to move, the ships slicing through the cold void of space, each one leaving behind Earth's fragile atmosphere. The unknown ship followed behind, its dark silhouette cutting through the stars like a guardian. It was no longer just a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's will to survive, a beacon of light in the endless night of the universe. As the fleet approached the first gateway, the tension was unbearable. Olivia watched the coordinates flash on the screen, each one leading them closer to the heart of the enemy's power. She could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on her chest. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for the survival of all sentient life in the galaxy. But there was one thing they hadn't counted on. As they neared the gateway, something stirred in the dark expanse of space. A shadow larger than anything they had seen before began to form, a shape more massive and terrifying than anything they had faced. And within that shadow, a new voice, colder than ice, filled the air. You cannot stop what is coming. Earth, the voice rumbled, a low growl that shook the very fabric of space. You are nothing but a fleeting moment in the grand scheme. And when the time comes, you will bow to us, or you will be erased. The fleet halted, every ship on alert. The voice continued, louder this time, a threat that echoed through the stars. You have been warned. And then the shadow moved, and the true battle for the galaxy began. Asterisk.